hopping a hand for
Be careful.
He's and Scott Higgins, both of them coked up out of their minds.
Listen to you. He's down in the basement.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I think we should call this the Acement.
The Acement, yes.
Yeah, what do you think there, huh?
I like that. The Acement Studios.
Excuse me, I'm drinking beer. Hold on a second.
We usually drink bourbon on our end.
Yeah,
when we
right.
do the podcast, so
That's all right.
feel free to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot an 8-ball if you want. We don't care, as long as it's good stories.
Welcome to the Acement, everybody. It's time to go behind the funny. This is Scott Higgins.
And this is Ace Aceto.
And we'd like to thank our bourbon date. Actually, she's becoming a relationship.
Yeah, I think we're dating now.
Yes, it's
Because
actually
we've dated her 3 weeks in a row.
But she is a favorite. But Angel's Envy is back once again.
Yes.
As this week's bourbon. So we'd like to thank Angel's Envy for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Again.
And that just means we're not that big of alcoholics that we usually are.
I thought
this
the
has
same
lasted
thing.
3 weeks.
I thought the same thing
That never
earlier.
happens.
Is I don't feel as bad about myself that it's lasted 3 weeks this time.
That's good.
It's when we have the empty bottle at the end of 1 week that we're like, okay, we need to go to a
help.
meeting.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got a great episode here for week
we're
2
so
of
excited.
Scottober.
The Scottober Spooktacular.
Yes,
That's right. We are a comedy podcast, but every October we mix comedy, paranormal, and horror.
Yeah, well, thanks to you.
Thanks to me.
Buddy.
I know. It evolved. It just happened.
It evolved. So,
But-
yes, we got an awesome episode tonight. though.
Yeah, and I don't want to keep our guests waiting too long. I've been known to give very, very long intros to the point where they're sleeping by the time I get them on. But I just want people to know how excited and how much people have accomplished that are on the show. And this guy, if it wasn't for our friend Jackie Flynn a couple of months ago, I wouldn't have even met this guy.
Right.
I've talked
Right.
about it. I got a friend request. I reached back out. I was like, "Hey man, thanks for a friend request." And he goes, "Oh, I'm a friend of Jackie's. I can't wait to, hear his show." And then I'm like, "Why does this guy look so familiar?" And I looked him up and I'm like, "Oh my God." You may have heard of a little movie called American Werewolf in London.
Strikes a chord.
Strikes a chord. Maybe this one will, because for show prep, I did this. I watched this for show prep. Hot Dog, the movie.
Oh my God. It shaped my 7th and 8th grade year combined.
Yep. And for those that remember the original Dr. Pepper slogan and jingle,
Yes.
I'm a Pepper.
Yes. A huge commercial. Huge.
This guy, I'm so excited. I'm just going to bring him in. I'm just going to introduce him and bring him in, and we'll talk about his career. But please welcome to the Behind the Funny podcast, Mr. David Naughton. David, thank you so much for being on, man. There he is.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How you doing?
For that intro. I was
listen.
trying to stay awake.
Yeah. Thanks. I
That
appreciate
was
that.
one of the most condensed intros Ace has ever done, David. I'm telling you.
Right.
Believe it or not. Yeah.
He tends to get worked up and really like to, go on with the intros for the guests because he gets excited. So he really stuck to a very short format tonight.
And
I'm proud of him.
And you've accomplished way more than 3/4 of our guests. So the fact that I kept it that short, but I figured we'll save it for the episode. But honestly, when I was going through your IMDb and everything like that, I was like, oh my God, like, we'll back up and we'll start at the beginning. You grew up in Connecticut and you still live there, right?
Well, no, I don't actually. I have my brother still lives there. I grew up in the Hartford area, but I really haven't been back in Connecticut in years. But I'm in North Carolina tonight. My wife has a place here, and I also have a place in Palm Desert, California. So
all right.
My golf club's in golf country, so that's
right.
Smart.
Yeah. And so you're in are you in North Carolina just for something like a work or just pleasure or?
No, I mean we live here part time in Pinehurst, which is a golf kind of a golf area. But yeah, so I'm on the East Coast and West Coast and try to stay, no one's going to retire me yet. So you have to just sort of be available on both coasts the older you
Absolutely.
get.
Well, yeah, especially now. I mean, Georgia is becoming such a big film capital on the East Coast. So,
there's
you know,
a lot of work in Atlanta. I have an agent in Atlanta, as a matter of fact.
Really?
And, you know, they sort of cover, they can cover regions. You know, I have a West Coast and then an East Coast rep. I hopefully they're watching this.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, yeah, definitely.
We hope so too.
I put up my phone number just in case.
We could do that. We could do that. We have a little banner at the bottom. We could put your number up. So you grew up in was it West Hartford?
Yeah, West Hartford, Connecticut. Yeah, went to school, high school there. Played soccer and baseball, and was in the musicals. You know, was basically. Really where I learned to sing from a great guy. And, you have one of those teachers that you get in high school that sort of really change your life in a way that's made me think about voice and how to sing properly. And then just sort of open the door to musical theater, which both my brother, James, who's also a well-known actor. And I just sort of lit the fire to pursue theater, and which is what we did.
Yep. And so both of you got into it. And what broke first? Was it acting or was it singing?
Well, we were just sort of, as I said, I was in the school, the high school musicals, and that sort of propelled me to think about a brother who was older became a professional actor. I mean, he went for it, which was the thing. My parents, both being teachers in West Hartford school systems, were going like, yeah, acting's fun, but not really a very safe career choice.
Right. Yeah, right. Like any parent would say, right.
Right. So then I got to college, went to the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, where I'm actually going this weekend for the first time to celebrate our 50th. Can you imagine 50th?
Wow.
an undefeated team in 71. They're acknowledging at a Penn Dartmouth soccer game this weekend. So I'm flying in to see a lot of guys that I have not seen in all this time. And we're going to spend the night, we're going to be those old guys. When we were in college, I mean, I think about, they would acknowledge these old guys from years past, and they'd come now. I go, now that's going to be.
Now that's you. Yeah, right.
That's me. And we're going to, but you only go to those shows if you still feel good about yourself and you look good enough to go. You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you got all your hair and you're still looking good. You're like, yeah, I don't look as bad as that guy. I'll go.
Yeah, we'll all sort of look at each other and see. I mean, a couple of these guys still were recently playing soccer as seniors. I mean, I just can't believe it. Yeah, and we had a team that was. This was back when pro soccer was really hitting the States, and a couple of these guys went on to play and had professional careers, if you can imagine. So my senior year, and I knew I wanted to be an actor at that point. So I opted to do the musical in the fall, and went to the coach and said, I'm not going to be coming out my senior year. He goes, "This is the year. This is when you play." Said,
yeah, right.
A little bit longer or a better chance at more of a career at going out for this musical. So I did the fall musical at Penn, and there wasn't really a drama major. It was really more academically inclined. So I applied to drama school in London after Penn, and I went over to England and studied acting for a couple of years over there, which was really an eye opener in the sense that everything that you are Americanized, if nobody's pointed out to you, they certainly pointed out to you when you get over to a drama school in England, which has a completely different approach. But the wonderful thing about being over there was I got to see so many really great actors on stage. I mean, Laurence Olivier and Alec Guinness, Paul Scofield, and John Gielgud, and all these guys who were, considered some of the best in the 20th century.
Right.
Right.
I got to see them on stage.
Wow.
Little did I know, 5 years later, I'd be coming back to London to do this little Bow Wow movie. This little.
Yeah. So was that the first big role that you had gotten? Was American Werewolf in London, or had you done anything before that?
Probably the Pepper stuff was bigger. As far as launching my career. After a couple of years at Lambda, which was the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, I returned to New York and said, I never thought that I'd have to do this, is set up shop in New York City, which was always so intimidating growing up, you know, in New England. Saying, but yeah, if you want to start and be an actor, I was, so I started, you know, in New York, doing, you know, my first job was production of Hamlet at Lincoln Center with Sam Waterston.
Oh, wow.
In the role of Hamlet. And there were a ton of guys in the cast, many of us who were just starting out. This was my first professional job as an actor, being in this production. And there were other people in the show, you know, Mandy Patinkin and Stephen Lang and all these guys, Bruce McGill, all these guys who were starting out, and you know, we were the young, hungry guys playing every soldier in the production of a 4-hour play, if you can imagine. And so while I was there in New York, also I was to get commercial agent, which is what you do, is going up for commercials, and both on camera and, you know, voice is very popular these days. But at the time it was, you know, on camera national commercials would really give you an opportunity to make a living and actually be considered, hey, I'm actually an actor full time. I'm not doing something else on the side. So that's what really got me going up for different spots. And I went up for these Dr. Pepper commercials in the late 70s. And it was a dance audition, if you can imagine.
Really?
I didn't consider myself a dancer, certainly. But I showed up, and something to do in an afternoon with all these hundreds of other guys. And we all got, you know, our numbers on our shirts, similar to like a chorus line, if anybody's ever seen that.
Yeah.
That show. And one thing led to another, and I continued to be getting called back, going, wow, you know, I wasn't nervous before, but now there's only 6 guys left in the room.
And I'm one of them. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you're like, oh my God, I've got a real shot at this. If I've made it through this point, you know?
Yeah, and I remember the producer, a woman, was looking at me and kind of giving me the thumbs up, like, what does this mean?
You're our favorite.
Am I like in the running? Because it turned out to be quite a, you know, a life-changing experience, in the sense that I got cast as this guy for this new campaign to be sort of a Pied Piper idea, but it was going to be a 22-day shoot. We were going to travel across the country.
Wow.
We were going to do 60 and 2 30-second commercials, which is only 2 minutes to film and 22-day shoot.
Wow.
Elaborate they are.
Right.
Things you can make movies. I've been in a couple of those that take 22 days or less.
Yeah, that take 22 days.
22-day shoots, you can do a lot of movies in a short period of time like that. And so here we were doing these 3 commercials, which, you know, turned out to be better than anyone really expected. And certainly by the next year, once we hit the airwaves, the number of people that would come out for these auditions and want to be dancers on these things was incredible. And that lasted 4 years. Wow. And it was probably those commercials that brought me to the attention of John Landis, who had this little autobiographical script that he had written when he was 21 years old, and had this screenplay, and said, you know, I've seen you in these commercials. And, you know, I said, and I did, you know, I backpacked in England. I actually did, when I was a student there, I actually went around Ireland on my bicycle for a week or so, trying, you know, as a sort of a, you know, trying to identify with this character that he had written about. And so we had a nice informal conversation at Universal in his studio. Little did I know what a young guy he was. We were about the same age, but he had these movies like Animal House and the Blues Brothers to his credit. And he was a big deal. And he had this little screenplay that he was finally getting a chance to do his horror film, and gave me the script to read. And he says, call me tomorrow. And he gives me his phone number. It was such an unusual sort of an audition, if you want to call it. Called him the next day. He goes, well, you want to be a werewolf?
Holy shit.
He said, so you got to get over to Rick Baker's shop right away. You got to get over there. He needs you. And I'm going to cast this other, you know, your buddy, Jack, who the role ended up going to Griffin Dunn. And I need to get you guys in the preliminary makeup stages as soon as we can. This was October of 1980. We went over to London in February of 1981, and the movie was released in August of 1981. If you can imagine.
Wow, that's a quick turnaround.
Really fast. Yeah, they were trying to beat The Howling out and see what, there was a lot of competition, both with special makeup and with Rick Baker's effects. We wanted to be the first ones to show what could be done with practical effects makeup. And
now was that the movie that kind of broke Rick Baker as the guy, or had he already had that reputation?
No, he was pretty much unknown. He and John Landis had a relationship, having worked on some just small little movies together. But Rick had always been doing, makeup. It was like his passion from junior high school. I mean, he said, I used to use my mother's oven to make the molds and to make the. I've
seen documentary. I think there's a documentary about him, and I remember him saying that. He'd make a complete mess of his mother's oven.
You're right. Only to go on and towards the end of his career, because he's since retired the last couple of years, but he had a 3-story building with 100 employees doing molding and sculpting and painting and all the different effects that and projects that he had going on his way to like 7 Academy Awards. But American Werewolf was his first, and the Academy recognized special makeup and the other movies that were coming out with special makeup, so they created the category specifically for that year, and Rick won it. And I remember I was in New York just sort of hanging out doing this off-Broadway play, and he gets on stage and he goes, and I want to thank David for having to put up with all the makeup that we did. And I went, yeah, that for damn sure. It was unlike anything I'd ever experienced.
That was crazy too, because I remember when I was younger and I saw that movie, and when you're looking at your hand and that hand stretches, man, that freaked the shit out of me.
Oh yeah. And first time you see that.
Yeah. And then the feet, and the mouth, it was absolutely crazy. You were like, how are they doing that?
Yeah. Well, we were certainly anxious, even though we had done the preliminary makeup, which consisted of having molds made of our arms and our legs for me and my head like 5 times, and which is a mold where you're underneath this quick drying cement, basically. And then they wrap it with gauze, just like a cast. And then they cut the back of it and try to pull you out of that thing. And then they go on, and take months to do the makeup. And so we were certainly curious to see how this was all going to be done and applied. I had no idea of the time that it would take. What we did was we shot the entire movie and then just had the transformation scene left to shoot. And that took, a week to shoot, 10 hours a day sitting in makeup with Rick and his assistants putting it on me, and then having to go through the various stages. And it was sort of all storyboarded, like you would storyboard a commercial in a sense.
Right.
But they still didn't know what it was going to look like. And he was pulling it off. It was amazing. Particularly the very first thing was that stretching hand.
Right.
Which was a mechanical device made to look like my arm. I was holding my arm behind me, and they had this replica, but it actually stretched on cue and didn't distort in any way. It was I was amazed at what he was pulling off, really, and that took forever. And and the funny thing about that was that John Landis was not as, shall we say, emotionally involved or attached to these effects as Rick was, because it took Rick months to make them.
That was of course he was very invested in it.
Those are his babies.
Completely. And John would go, okay, is that it? Well, we got
it. Rick's like, yeah, sure. 7 months of work. Yeah, that's it. 30 seconds. Thanks.
Yeah. Goes, no, wait a minute. It took me 4 months. Can we just I got it. What else does it do?
It stretches. Big deal.
And then Rick wins the Oscar and goes, is that it?
Is that it?
Is that it?
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
And particularly with the head that's with the snout that shoots
with
out.
The snout, yeah.
A separate whole makeup that Rick was called the change-o head, with mechanical head sitting on a pedestal basically, and they're shooting this snout shooting out, and that took about 10 seconds to shoot on film. And they go, okay, we got it. No, wait.
right. Let's try another one. Why does it stretch differently?
What else does it do?
Yeah. Right. It did what it needed to do. That's hilarious.
So, and just think of the cult classic that movie has become now, years later. I mean, people still watch that on a regular basis. It's become kind of like a tradition every year to watch that this time of year and everything. And I'm sure that you've gone to like conventions or Comic-Cons and people still are diehard fans of that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, particularly when I meet people who were so impacted by the film that they went into makeup. They wanted to become special effects.
Wow.
And numerous times, and or actors, or in some way get involved because it moved them. And it also introduced so many younger people to horror. And so I meet these people.
Right.
Dad showed me this when I was 9. I go, it's rated R, for God's
sake. Yeah, it's scary. Yeah. Your dad let you look at my ass while I changed into a werewolf. Come on.
Your dad was a bad parent.
Exactly.
Or how many times I can tell you where people, I was at my friend's house. And my
exactly.
Didn't know, and we had this movie that we had rented, and she goes, "Yeah, sure. You know, if it'll keep you quiet, go downstairs and watch it." So we watched this movie, freaked us out, and then we find out later that we weren't supposed to watch it anyway.
Yeah, right.
That's generations of film. My parents showed me this when I was. I mean, all these stories start out like that, and I go, "Well,
that's awesome." And now, in fact, Yeah, right. And in fact, you've been doing some conventions, because I know when we were trying to set this up, you were like, yeah, I know I have some conventions in October, but that might, this date should work. So have you been, where were the most recent ones?
Well, there were some really good ones. New Jersey, a thing called Monster Mania, and it was just a huge turnout. It's a well-known show, and particularly with last year's pandemic canceling so many shows,
right?
People were chomping at the bit to get out to shows again, and having to deal with different protocol, particularly masks, and other shows where we had to proof of vaccination primarily. People had to show, or they had somebody there when you came in,
testing,
checking temperatures and things. But so there were precautions taken. I've done a couple of shows. I have another, one where in Erie, Pennsylvania, I'm flying out in a couple of weeks on Halloween weekend, I believe it is. And they're going to have a big screening and a Q&A, and I bring, a lot of colors, photos and or posters that I have, and people just can't eat them up, or they bring their DVDs. I have to say there's been like 5 or 6 different forms of DVDs with new bonus scenes.
Oh yeah, box sets, the
bonus scenes are mostly interviews, because the film we shot is about it. That's 90.
That's it. There wasn't that much, right?
Yeah.
It's funny. You bring up the Comic-Cons and the conventions. Last week we had Jason Hawes from Ghost Hunters on. And he said he's seen you at a couple of the the different conventions.
Oh, yeah. They're a popular thing to do. Particularly, and from our standpoint, as the guest, you get to see people who you haven't seen, in years. Like I'll run into D. Wallace, going, do a panel. We were supposed to do a panel of The Howling and Werewolf, which, it's just. We found that people can't get enough of these sort of questions and answers, particularly the one that I've asked most of all, of course, is how long did it take to do the transformation and other scenes and shows. Particularly one, I'll say, we would do like, they always ask me about nudity, and I go, yeah, well, that's something you do when you're 30 and not, nobody's asking you.
No one's asked me to be an American Werewolf of London 2.
They're talking about. There's been talk about a remake. Which,
really?
Really, there was serious consideration about John Landis going to be involved as an executive producer, and what would my role be? I go, well, I just hope I'm not the old guy that's naked on the ground when he gets attacked.
Right.
I gotta at least have a speaking part. Come on.
Right.
But what my feeling was about it, you know, and it really would be, you know, at first I was going, come on, leave it alone. Don't try to remake this thing. But in actual fact, if it were made, you know, people would say, yeah, but did you see the original? Which would, you know, probably keep it running.
Yeah, because people would. Right, because people would go back and watch the original.
I get torn with stuff like that, because when you have something that kind of stands the test of time and as popular as that movie is, and another example I always use is Jaws. That's another movie that should never get remade because, you know, it was cast so well, the story was so well, and the same thing with American Werewolf in London. It's become such a classic that I hate to see somebody's new take on it, and then I almost think that you know, CGI would take away from it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, you wonder, say, okay, what's going to be different about it? How are you going to improve it? Or what kind of statement are you going to make? You know, because it's going to, you know, inevitably be compared to the original and
to the original.
Like
right. Well, yeah. Do you want to take that chance on it?
Yeah, they don't consult me on these things, you know.
No, but they're going to cast you as the grandfather. The grandson is now the werewolf.
Yeah, exactly. You passed on the genetic code to be a werewolf. Yeah,
something like that.
I got to be something.
So was that the first? Was that after Dr. Pepper? Was that the first movie? Well, because I didn't look at the IMDb page to look at like the sequence. Was Hot Dog after that?
Yes, it was.
Hot Dog was after Werewolf, yeah. And you know, between Dr. Pepper, what brought me to LA was a series called Make It, which I did.
Yes.
It was you know, basically based on Saturday Night Fever. I got a chance to record the song, which took off and was became a gold record I have of Making It.
That's so awesome. You know, and I think I told you before we went on live that I have been listening to it all day and can't get the friggin' song out of my head, because I remember when the TV show came out and I loved it. I watched it. I mean, I was younger. Obviously, I'm a little younger than you, but I was like, I don't know, early teens. And I was like, oh my God, that'd be such a cool job to be a dancer at a nightclub. Yeah. You know, it's like, and all of his friends. And
I got to ask David, did you do that song on the show Solid Gold?
I'm sorry?
Did you do that song on the show Solid Gold?
No, I didn't perform it.
For some reason, I had thought I'd seen you do it on that show Solid Gold that was very popular at that time.
Bandstand now with Dick Clark.
Oh, okay, that's probably what it
is
was.
On Bandstand.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
On Bandstand to see Dick Clark. Then I saw Dick Clark again. I did both his $25,000 pyramid and $100,000 pyramid.
Oh wow!
Couldn't have been nicer. Couldn't have been a nicer guy. Rockin' New Year's Eve with Dick Clark, which was a New Year's Eve show.
Oh sure.
Pepper, but I was on there singing. I mean, it was so. But little did I know, I really wanted to be a werewolf for life.
Yeah, right. Well, dreams do come true.
Now was Making It. Did the TV series happen first and that just happened to be the theme song and they had you sing it, or was that a song that you had first and then they made the TV show?
No, it was the whole idea was it to be a 13 on the air commitment by ABC at Paramount to do the series Making It, which they had rights to. Paramount had the movie, of course, and so they had rights to all the music and the disco stuff, but they were going to write, and they did write the theme song,
right?
By these guys who were big writers, Dino Figueres, Freddie Perrin, who had Peaches and Herb at the time were big hits, Reunited, Shake Your Groove thing, and so they had this song that they were going and had the Four Seasons, pretty much ready to record the title song that was going to be on the opening credits. I said, wait a second, I'd love to get a shot at this, given the fact that my pitch was, it was sort of from my perspective, making it, and this is living in Passaic, New Jersey, and coming up in the same sort of theme of the show. And the producers, who were very wonderful guys in Paramount, were able to just call up and say, okay, yeah, we'll get you a meeting with the songwriters. So I went over to their studio and they said, let's hear it. I had the track that I got, listen to, but I got a chance to record it for them. They went, "Where are you from?" I said, I grew up in Connecticut. They go, "Well, it sounds a little Connecticut." I said, "I went to school in Philly." They went, "Give me Philly, get in there with Philly."
Really?
Yeah, it's a crazy way that I'll never forget the direction you get, and then it's sort of you find a way to go in and sell it, and so we did. We recorded it before the show even hit the air. We had the song recorded over Thanksgiving weekend back in 1978, 79. It was released on RSO label, which was the Stigwood Bee Gees label primarily. Yeah,
RSO, the little, was it a pig or a dog?
Yeah, like
was the
this
mascot?
Yes, and the thing took off, and it just kept climbing the charts, making it number 5. So it went to the 30, and I didn't know what to do. I wanted to do more, of course, but RSO was really, and those are times, it's so different from today, where now, actors go in and they get record deals, movie deals. I mean, they get a line of, perfumes, clothing line, whatever it is.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But then it was like, are you an actor, or are you a dancer, or are you a singer, or, what, pick what it is you do.
Pick one.
And you go, wait a second, this is sort of like, why can't I do more than this? And RSO was not, you had to go into that it was also at the time when you needed to get studio time, which was expensive. So you could just go in and try to write music in a studio the way people now with the, just go into your closet and record on your software,
Right.
We're making albums at home, and that wasn't the case then. And so it was very difficult to convince that I had more to do. I go, let me follow it up with something. Come on.
Right.
Come on. I just had a huge hit.
Yeah. The 45 was a big seller, and it said, make it. Well, guess what was on the B side? Still making it. That's right.
That's the best they could come up for you.
Well, because what we did was we recorded like this disco version, which is like a 7-minute album size, all of one song album, and that 12-inch was like what they play in all the big discos around the country. So I around those. And
it was like the extended version,
right? And so, to cut it up for a 45, they just basically put A and B are making it and still making it. For God's sake.
Making it, yeah. I think I had that 45. I'm not gonna lie.
When I mentioned to my wife that we were having you on this week, she told me she had that 45 too, and played a couple of needles off a record player. I think everybody had that record back in the day. That was such a big hit.
That's one of the things that people bring when I do these conventions is they dust their collection of 45s.
Yes.
And bring that one.
Wow.
I bet you didn't expect this. And I go, well, as a matter of fact.
You're the 4,000th person with it. Yes.
Just this convention.
I'm still surprised that there's that many copies still out there surviving, but yes. Well, it's funny. Our friend Jen just put a comment up. I used to love making it when I was younger. I didn't realize how many shows I've loved that David has been in. I also loved My Sister Sam. It was so sad when it had to end. So you were on My Sister Sam as well.
Yeah, it was another series that we did, which is unfortunate that we lost Rebecca Schaefer, who was the actress who, was stalked and shot by a
Yes, that's right.
And it just changed. It changed everything. It certainly changed the laws in California as a result of stalking law, where people used to just be able to go to the DMV and find out, say, hey, where does such and such live?
Right.
They no longer give that sort of information out, obviously. And
right.
That was another show that was one of those fun opportunities with Pam Dauber, who was such a heartthrob to so many people.
Oh, yes.
Mindy.
I didn't watch Mork and Mindy for Mork. I can tell you that. No offense, Robin Williams.
No, it's true. We had to sort of, tell her, what we as younger boys thought of her. Just I've heard it all. But,
yeah, exactly.
Because in the same way, we had to with Jen Agutter as the nurse in American Werewolf. I hadn't realized when I was a student in Lambda, we used to go to the theater, you know, like 3-4 nights a week. I mean, we just lived at different theaters. So at the National Theater was a production of a play called Equus, which was a huge hit then. It was also a huge hit in Broadway. And it has to do with a boy and his, you know, he meets a girl in a stable. And the play is a very disturbing play. Equus, it's about horses and this pathological problem this kid has, a blinding. But in the course of this theater production, he meets the stable girl who, in the British production, they get naked on stage. And you go, my God, we got to go see this play. It's called Acement. And we went to see it like 3 times. And in the production in England, they had seats on stage in the form of like a jury booth, if you can imagine. So you could get those seats, provided that you wouldn't have a program. You couldn't, you know, move. So you'd be sitting on the stage.
You had to act like a jury.
Yeah, you can't really move around. So we would get these seats and watch this scene, only to find out that the girl was played by Jenny Agutter, which I found and told her, I go, Jenny, I've had a crush on you since Equus. Because get in line, young man.
Yeah, right. You're like, I bought a jury seat every time I saw it.
Every time I was in the rap, we go, Jenny's going to be there Thursday night. Come on, we're going. So they were hard seats to get, but she was a good sport about it, because between John Landis and Griffin Dunn and I, we were, you know, kind of tripping over ourselves every time Jenny would come on set. Yeah.
Well, now speaking of crushes, let's go back to Hot Dog the movie, because you know, that was a pivotal moment in my puberty. Going to watch that with my friends, saying, you know, hey mom, can you drop us off at the mall? We're gonna go see a movie. Yeah, what are you gonna go see? Oh, Pete's Dragon.
It was 1983. Yeah. So I was 14 going on 15.
I was a freshman in high school,
and I wasn't allowed to see such movies because of my mother.
Yeah.
And I remember my uncle Richard telling my mother he was going to take me, I believe, to see Footloose. It was the movie he said, and we went to see Hot Dog instead. And yes, it definitely
Footloose is good too. Yeah,
I don't.
Kevin Bacon was okay.
I still to this day haven't seen it, because I even tell my wife, "Yeah, I'm gonna watch Footloose," and I go downstairs and watch Hot Dog. So you know, but yeah, I what's that?
I was saying the lie continues.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Footloose.
Yes, I'm watching Footloose,
you know,
Mom.
That movie. Hot Dog has a very special place in my heart, particularly because I married one of the skiers on the movie, and we have 2 children from Hot Dog. So all of my Hot Dog babies, who are now 36 and 33. Yeah.
Wow.
My daughter's birthday's tomorrow, and my son's is on Friday. But yeah, they come from that film, and you know, that was a movie where we shot it up in Squaw Valley, California, Northern California. Everything that, all the stunts, all the skiers, all are just people that were skiing, you know, that we just literally recruited to be in the movie that were there. Heck yeah, what, $50 and lunch? Yeah, I'll do the stunt.
Wow.
Over the years, and it wasn't particularly, you know, it wouldn't be considered approved material even for the management of the mountain. When they got a hold of the script and went, what did we do? We gave you permission to shoot this racing movie.
Yeah, right.
You know, with wet t-shirt contests and gondola rides and
yeah.
And we broke every rule that we could. And so cut to 35 years later, they were sponsoring the reunion party, going, welcome. This is where
yeah, you made them a shit ton of money because everyone knew Squaw Valley, right?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So at these reunions, they would have, similar to like Rocky Horror Picture Show, people showing up in costume of skiers.
As Squirrel, as different characters.
Yeah. And reciting the film. And we had a huge party up there, and got a number of the members of the cast back, and it was really fun to be going, this isn't exactly the way the movie was received when it first came out.
No, exactly. It was received very well by 14-year-old boys, but not necessarily the critics, right? Well, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that one of the guys who played on the Rudettes, the Rudy's team, he was a fisherman. One of his jobs during the summer was fishing, commercial fishing up in Alaska. And he was back up there, and he walked into a gigantic bonfire party celebrating Hot Dog, the movie. And
wow.
He said he walked in, and that these people have this annual ritual of celebrating Hot Dog, the movie, and all these people show up. And he said when he found out that he was a Rudette, he was like the second coming for this.
He was like a king to them, right? Exactly.
He was. You don't pay for anything in this town.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
well, it's funny because I remember a friend of mine saying something, and I just remember the line of, so I guess fuck is out of the question, or a fuck is out of the question. And I never realized where that came from until I watched the movie the other night. And I'm like, oh, that's where Donald got that from.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we're saying, sunny side up, sunny side down, sunny side all the way around.
All the way around.
Yeah, we had a drink called the leg spreader, which was sort of like complete prop. I mean, the stuff we got away with.
You know what? The funny thing about that is when you're watching the movie, it just looks like they just happen to roll cameras on a bunch of people having fun.
Exactly.
Like, oh yeah, and by the way, deliver this line when you get a chance.
Yeah, throw this in.
It just looked like fun.
Well, it was, truly, we could have been a documentary on the making of Hot Dog, which would have been a terrific bonus because we were all down there. We got per diem. We were getting snowed out though. That was the thing. There was so much snow that year that we couldn't shoot, but we would try to get in a car that we dig out of a snowbank and drive to a casino, all of us skiers, all of us actors, and drive in there and party, till all hours of the night, get up, put on our ski gear, ski in the morning. We'd ski before the mountain even opened. So it's all groomed. There's nobody on the mountain.
First chair.
So they said, yeah, you guys can't do that anymore. But what was funny was some of the actors were not particularly good skiers. Even though we were dressed as racers with bibs and numbers, these guys couldn't get on the lifts. So
really?
They're going like, slow it down. They didn't even know how to get on a chairlift. So we had to end up getting actor armbands so that the people on the mountain that worked there went, oh, these are some of those make-believe racers.
Yeah, they're the make-believe people, right? So was your wife just one of the skiers, or was she one of the actors? Like, was she a Rudette, or was she on your side, or just one of the general skiers?
She was a Rudette. She was one of Rudy's team, one of the long blonde hair. She also doubled Shannon Tweed anytime Shannon had to do some skiing. She got in this blue bodysuit, skied. They were all really, really strong skiers up there. And so we'd have different doubles depending on whatever the scene required or what the stunt was, which was always funny to me because if you watch the film, I would watch it from my perspective and go, I'm like 3 different sizes depending on what stunt is being done.
Right. Yeah. Well, Well, because if you look at the events, there was the ballet event, there was the stunt, the moguls event, the stunt event. So yeah, you probably had different people who were skilled at those different skills, and they just threw on the suit.
Sizes.
Wow.
Well, yeah, they different sizes. Yeah. I'd have a different hat. I have a Mets hat on backwards and a ski hat, going like, what? How? This movie. We broke a lot of rules, but then we had that big Chinese downhill at the end.
Yeah,
which is like, what the hell's a Chinese downhill? And that was like one of the scarier moments because we're out there on the edge of a cornice. We're all going to just jump 25 feet down, but straight downhill. So a lot of us were like tied off so we wouldn't go over the edge. Because it was like,
because you guys weren't actually skilled enough to go down that steep downhill.
Black
right?
diamond, black diamond stuff. You just do not want to go down this on skis.
Right.
But we had a lot of fun. I remember the day where we were coming up going, yeah, and the producer was a guy named Ed Bellman who went on to do a number of cool movies with Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy and so on. But this is one of his earlier films. So he's really trying to keep it on budget, which was a small budget anyway. But we're up there, and we're singing Let It Snow because we'd get washed out. It'd be overtime. We couldn't shoot. We'd be there, over the time period. And so we knew it was going to cost him extra money. But I remember we were on the side of the mountain and I'm going, Hot Dog, the movie. That's it. That's going to be the title. So that was this title that he came, that ended up being it's Hot Dog, the movie. And people wanted to know, there were not a lot of people with hot dogging was basically, freestyle skiing. And so I didn't understand what hot dog was about until they got in there. But as I said, to skiers, it's still one of those annual events for people.
Oh, yeah. Watch. I got a buddy of mine who lives a street away, is a huge skier, season passes at Cannon Mountain up in New Hampshire every year. And I said, hey, you could appreciate this. Guess who I'm talking to tomorrow on my podcast? Because, a lot of the people that I know, they're like making fun of me because they don't know podcasts. And I go, you could appreciate this. I'm talking to Callahan from Hot Dog, the movie. And he goes, oh my God, I love that movie. Because he was on like the UNH ski team. And, that was huge,
I mean, when you're making these movies like American Werewolf in London and then again Hot Dog, there's no way at the time you could think, 40 years from now, we're still going to be talking about these movies, right? As you're filming them.
You're just looking at it as, hey, I'm having a great friggin' time. I'm getting to ski. I'm, having fun. I'm seeing Shannon Tweed naked.
I wanted to be an actor. It's what I wanted to do. So I'm getting paid to be in a movie. I'm having fun. This is great. And that's all you're probably thinking at the time. And here we are, 40 years later,
right?
And those two movies, people still know them. That's got to be a pretty good feeling that stuff is held up like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. You never know what kind of longevity things will have. We certainly knew with Werewolf because the makeup was so special.
Yes,
We didn't know that it was going to get this sort of recognition that it did, particularly with the Academy and so on. But we knew that Rick was a very special talent, and but with Hot Dog, it was just sort of a timely thing. It's just like a comedy with some stunts. We had some incredible skiers in it, and some of the things that we pulled off were thinking about it later was always like, if we had just had people talking about the making of this movie, because literally you get a kid who's some stoner going, you want me to what? Ski down through the lodge? Okay.
Right. Yeah, he's not a stunt man. He's just some stoner who can ski.
Who didn't know any better.
Here, do this.
Will they renew my pass? Yeah.
Do I get a season pass for this, man?
Yeah, we'll cover your pass.
Okay, Shaggy.
We'll cover your pass.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's awesome.
Now, we ask, performers all the time about the career highlights. I would certainly say that we've talked about a couple of your career highlights. Were there any moments in your career that really just, surprised you, that, that stand out in your mind, that you didn't expect them, to come up, or certain moments that you were, someone you got to work with that you were like, oh my God, I can't believe I got to be in this movie or this show with this person, or anything like that?
Well, yeah, you just never know when you get, in an ensemble cast, who's basically going to break out of it. That happens so many times. Like, for example, I did a play in 1983, so this was after Werewolf, but it was an off-Broadway play in New York that was just, a bunch of college guys who were supposedly singers in a college group at Yale called the Whiffenpoofs. Well, in the cast was Kevin Bacon, who was completely unknown.
Right.
And he was, we were in a room, we were roommates together, and he was not particularly a strong singer, but learned to sing because we had tons of harmonies only to find out the kind of career that he's had, and he's got his own
Right.
band, and it's what I always laugh about going, the guy couldn't sing in the 80s.
Yeah, right. Now he's in a band.
Now he's got his own band, and he and his brother.
Wow.
You know, another show that I did was a little Disney movie called Midnight Madness, which is
Right.
about an all-night treasure hunt in Los Angeles. Well, we had this young kid in it for his first movie. His name was Michael J. Fox. He's like, he's playing my
Wow.
little brother. And he's a little kid with braces on. He's 18 years old, playing a younger kid, but talking about, yeah, my agent wants me to go up for TV, and we don't know. And we're like, yeah, Michael, maybe you ought to pursue that and see what happens. I mean, you know, the guy.
Wow.
You know,
I don't know. They're
career.
trying to sell me on some Back to the Future. I don't know. It doesn't sound like it's going to
Yeah, I
pan out.
It's just-
Biggest
you just
movie
don't
of
get
all
it. So,
time.
You know, and I
Right.
always laughed at, who's this guy, Michael Jackson? I mean, I go, I'm doing Dr. Pepper. He decides he's going to do Pepsi. You know, I do American Werewolf. Now I do Thriller. For God's sake, Mike.
He
Come on.
followed you the
Stop
whole
following me,
friggin' time.
He stole your identity.
Stole your identity, right?
Stop following me
what-
around. Get your own gigs.
What?
Yeah.
What a hack!
Yeah. I know. Like, what are you waiting for? I said, so all right, Michael, I'll give you the moonwalk. You
Yeah,
had that first.
Yeah, you do Making It. He does Beat It. Come on, stop copying me.
Come on.
What a yeah!
What
you
a
know
hack.
I didn't realize what a big hack Michael
I never
Jackson
realized
was.
it. You're like the Life of Brian for Michael Jackson.
Yes, perfect.
You're like the parallel career.
That's unfortunate. The only unfortunate thing is I'm the only one who ever saw that girl.
Yeah. Right.
Well, we're gonna get the word out.
Well, no, the good thing
All
is
right, I
you're
want you to run with it.
we're gonna run with it. Yeah, no, the good thing is you're hopefully not taking Diprovan to sleep. So we still have you around. That's good.
Yeah. So are you working on anything? Anything new that you're working on? That's
That's
we can look
always
forward to?
the thought is that as you get older, you change. There used to be a thing called the Player's Guide, which was this is before the internet. This is like if you wanted to find an actor, it was like a big phone book full of pictures of actors, and you'd actually go in and it'd be. This was how I started out in the 70s and 80s. You had to get your picture put in the Player's Guide, which is such a relic now that I don't even think there are any around. But it would be in categories: young leading men, character. So as you get older, you go through the beginning to the end of the Player's Guide, depending on where you were as an actor, as a young man, as a leading man, as an older man, as a character. So the kind of parts I'm getting now, obviously, if they do American Werewolf in London, the remake, I won't be considered for many other parts other than maybe how about the granddad of the werewolf?
Grandfather, right?
narrator.
Exactly. Yeah, the narrator.
Narrator.
Yeah, we had to grandfather him into this. But the fun is that I continue to have the enthusiasm for acting. I continue to do sorts of things, readings and or smaller parts that are in some way or shape fun for me. And
Right.
And it's nice that I don't have to try, or nor do I have the sort of ambition to try to go out and make a name for myself, or try to get that starring role, or all the competition that used to be sitting in a room full of actors all going up for the same part. I mean, those days are really over for me.
Yeah.
I just look forward to trying to meet with new young directors who are up and coming, or even established ones, and just being a part of their team is really what
Right.
excites me.
Just being able to bring your
Just change your
experience to just being able to bring
Yeah.
your experience to them and maybe help them and
Oh yeah.
so one of
And then just part of
And-
that
and-
ensemble. So
Right.
the things that you don't see is that's really what the life of the actor is: all the rehearsal time or the downtime, waiting to go
Right.
shoot, hanging out with other actors on set. I mean, that's really what feeds the soul, and then hopefully
Yeah.
you do a good performance.
And
It-
and
it's-
that's the great part about being in entertainment. We talk about it all the time. Is as long as you have a passion for it, you can keep working. You know what I mean? You don't
Yeah.
have to retire at a certain age. You can keep working.
right.
The thing
And-
that usually is the stopper is learning lines. When you get to the point where you can't remember your lines, that's sort
Yeah.
of like the is like, okay, now how about the non-speaking roles. You know?
Yeah, right, right. Yeah.
Both.
How about guy number two that? How about guy number two that walks through the scene? Can I be that guy? You know,
They do need background actors, so
The security guard with the rubber gun.
Yeah, yeah, right.
there you go.
It's interesting because I haven't done any acting. I've done comedy obviously for the past 32 years. I did acting a long time ago. 97 was the last time I was in a play or an independent film. And I just got cast in a local play. It's a local Christmas play. It's called Anthony Claus. It's like an Italian Christmas play written by a local, comedian actor here in Rhode Island. And I'm nervous as shit. We have a table reading tomorrow. And I've looked at the script a couple of times and I'm looking and I'm going, this isn't nearly as much lines as I had the last time I was in a play. And I'm scared shitless that I'm going to be able to remember this stuff. But I'm sure I love, to your point, I love the camaraderie. Like, I'm so excited to be part of this big ensemble cast and get to know people. And some people I've acted with before 20 something years ago, but to be able to come back together and get to work with them, that's got to be fulfilling when you haven't worked with someone in a while. And then all of a sudden you find out you're in the cast with someone that you worked with a while ago. Has that happened before?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's really it's an energy that unlike anything else. You're involved in a production. Especially if it's something live like theater, or even I've done some benefits, which are also, and I'm sure you have as comics, where you're going to go in and it's for some kind of comic, a cause, and it's going to be live, and there's no rehearsal, and so really depending on your wits and your own professionalism to go in and pull it off. I love those challenges when you got to go, we're going to go in there and do this, and these songs are going to be in this order, and we're hoping, you know what I mean? That kind of energy. And then you go in and you have one night performance, one night only, and it works or it doesn't, but the performance that's collective, that everybody's energy is put together, that's really fun. And you get, especially if it's successful, you kind of go, I got to do this again,
Yeah. It's like a drug.
Yeah. And you go, well, would you really be interested in doing this again or annually? I go, annually? I'm not interested in doing anything annually.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. How about weekly?
Well,
that's the rush of live performance, though. I think is that instant feedback from the audience, and you got that one chance to deliver your lines, your performance correctly, and there's no second takes. And that's the difference between movie acting and live performance. And you've done both, so you know the difference between the two, obviously.
Right.
So and that's what I think. That's why comedians get addicted to that live performance. And I'm sure the theater was the same for you, being up there on that stage in front of that live audience. It's just there's nothing like, you can't describe it to somebody.
Yeah.
No, and the live feedback, is pretty special. It makes me think now more clearly about, there's a theater down here in Pinehurst that's an equity theater. So they bring in professional actors. And my friend who was involved in this little company, and they only do they'll run for 3 weeks, and they'll do a play. So this one actress whom I know is coming in to do the female version of The Odd Couple, which is 2 women. It was written by Neil Simon for women. So it's The Odd Couple, but for 2 women roles. And she agreed to do it. And then this very same conversation we had was, she said she was absolutely terror-stricken by looking at the number of lines that she has.
Right.
Play. And even though they have 12 or 15 performances, you're going to spend so much time getting up on the part, only to have 12 performances to really get it to where you're comfortable. It's one of those things where you're never comfortable because the show doesn't run long enough to where you really get moved,
Yeah, by the 12th by the 12th performance, you're finally feeling like, all right, I got this. All right, show's over.
Yeah, relax and roll. So you said to me, can I mention your name? I said, don't you dare. This guy's realize I'm a neighbor, you know.
Right.
He says, "You got to come in. You'll be sick. You don't even have to put you up. We don't even have to, you know."
Right.
We don't even have to fly you in.
Yeah, you're cheap labor to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, one of our listeners and watchers said American Werewolf in London was a childhood trauma, a good one. Any chance you still hang out with Griffin Dunn? Do you still see Griffin Dunn at all?
No, and I wish I could see him more, because we've been trying to talk him into doing these personal appearance conventions that, you know, there's one and October is always a good month to do them, especially when you have something like the 40th anniversary to promote, and say a 40th reunion, because these promoters love to get the casts of these movies all assembled. And
absolutely.
It's a huge thing for fans, because then they can get a poster with everybody singing on them. But Griffin's just like, oh, not for me. No, sorry, I'm not.
Yeah,
you know,
really. Wow.
Yeah, so it's too bad. And John Landis isn't interested, because he's more interested in he had a book which was really special. It was like the Monsters in Movies, huge volume that he was promoting. And Rick Baker as well it was almost a 2-volume makeup book about all the different things he's done and how he did them with stills and a very expensive book that he was signing. But you know, again, if it's not something like that for them, they're not really interested. I said, come on, what about Jenny and Griffin and I? We could do a world tour, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it didn't happen.
No.
It's one of those things.
So normally when we wrap up the show with stand-ups, we ask them about a funny bad gig moment. And those are the gigs that, like, as a comic, you know, we go in and you just know, like, if there's certain things that are there, it's going to be a shitty gig. But from an actor's point of view, you probably have still had these things where you walk on a set and you just know it's going to be bad, because something just isn't right. And so when I guess this is more a question, do actors ever sit in, you know, dressing rooms and talk about, like, crappy things that they've been on, crappy shoots where you're like, oh, you think that was bad? Let me tell you about this shoot.
Do you compare war stories of bad gigs like comics do?
Well, you do, but, you know, it more often happens to actors by fans asking them embarrassing questions about, hey, what were you doing in Sharknado 5, for example?
Yeah.
One I got.
It's a lot of ball busting, right? All right.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
I go, yeah. I said, you know, that's all the time we have right now.
Yeah, right.
But, you know, I try to end my things by saying, what's the most ridiculous question you've ever been asked by fans regarding particularly American Werewolf, because I've done so many of these shows. So I'm down in Australia. We see a big screening of it, and this is after the screening. So we're out on stage and there's mics in the audience, so people would walk up and ask the question. So it was pretty formalized. This guy walks up and he stands there and he goes, yes, my question is, in the movie, were you the actor or the werewolf? And it was more than just a long pause. After I heard that question, my immediate reaction was to just yell at him, sit down! You know?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Sit down. But
no, we had a real werewolf come in, dummy.
Yeah, we had a stunt werewolf.
Yeah, we had a stunt werewolf come in. Yeah.
I go, no, I'm here because I was in the suit. What do you think? Come on.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I just played the hand that grew. That's the only part
exactly.
that I had.
So was that your real hand?
Yeah. Yes, actually it was.
Yeah. That's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, and you don't, you know, you get asked those questions and you don't want to embarrass anybody, and you want to be nice about it,
and they
they're
are fans, right? Exactly.
So you gotta try to handle that situation. I just hope one day I can be in a situation where I'm asked a question like that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
hey, were you the comic up on stage or the mic stand? That's you know.
Yeah.
I'll never get mistaken for a mic stand.
No, you won't.
No, I
No,
won't
I
get
know.
mistaken for a mic stand. But anyway,
Podium maybe, but
maybe
not a mic stand.
maybe. But thank you so much, David. This was a phenomenal night. We really appreciate you coming on, man. We've been looking forward to this for weeks.
Well, it's been my pleasure, guys. There's nothing more fun than, you know, stokes the fire of going, you got questions about hot dog? Golly, you know.
Yeah. How often do you get questions about hot dog? Come on.
Everyone's going to ask about Werewolf.
Exactly.
Hot dog questions.
Not nearly enough. So thanks.
Not
so
nearly enough.
Exactly.
Well, listen, anytime you want to come back on and do a hot dog reunion, if you want to bring your wife on, if you're able to get Squirrel, you know, we'll work on getting Shannon Tweed, you know.
Oh my God.
That'd be great to have a reunion, a hot dog reunion show.
Yeah, and if something outrageous comes up that I need to promote, I'd love to contact you and see if
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Anytime you've got something to promote, let us know. We'd love to have you back on.
And
Sounds
if you're ever
good.
going to be,
Thanks,
if you're going to
guys.
do an appearance up here in New England at all,
Let us know. Yeah, we'll definitely come by.
You're where are you guys based?
So Scott's actually in Connecticut, but Eastern Connecticut.
Right.
And I'm in Rhode Island. So not far,
Right.
not far from, you know, if you're anywhere in New England, we can be there.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks so much, David. We'll be
Thank
in
you.
touch. Have a great night.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
And that was David.
That was
Naughton,
David Naughton.
everybody.
That was so awesome.
Wasn't it?
You know, it's funny because when I first booked him, I was really thinking American Werewolf in London because of Scottober and the spookiness. But then our friend Bob Carney, another fellow comic, who we had on.
Yeah, and he posted.
And he was
Hot
like,
Dog,
hey,
the
let's
movie.
not forget Hot Dog the movie. And I'm like, holy shit, that's right.
Yeah. The guy's had an amazing career because you think about the TV show Making It, and he had the hit song.
Literally
from it.
at that time, between American Werewolf in London, Hot Dog, Making It the song, like the Dr. Pepper commercial, like he literally had all this stuff
from
going on.
79 to 83.
Yes.
In a 4-year span, he had that Dr. Pepper commercial, which, like he said, for 4 years, they did those
that
commercials.
ran. Yeah.
He had Making It.
Yep.
He had Midnight Madness, which was a Disney movie with Michael J. Fox, American Werewolf in London, and then the Hot Dog, the movie. And also, in the meantime, he did an episode of Love Boat.
Right.
Well,
and
he did
that's
other
the thing.
stuff, too.
If you look at his IMDb, it's not like he hasn't been doing anything since then.
No, he's done it.
That was like what really broke him was those 4 years, but he's been doing stuff right up until now.
Just a quick scan. I mean, Melrose Place, Sybil, Silk Stockings, ER, you know, Jag, which was a huge show. I mean, Crossing Jordan. I remember that show when it was on. You know, he's been on a ton of stuff. He was on an episode of Seinfeld. We talked about that earlier. I remember that episode.
Which one was it?
It was the one where the sweater with the red dot on it.
Mm-hmm.
He played a guy that was dating Elaine that was an alcoholic. And I forgot and Jerry upsets him and he falls off the wagon and gets drunk again.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And Elaine blames Jerry for him falling off the wagon.
Yes.
Oh shit. See, that's the thing. This guy, I mean, I that's why I was
Grey's Anatomy, American Horror Story.
Yeah, he's been in American Horror Story. I saw that on his IMDb.
Oh, when he said Sharknado 5,
he really was.
He was in it.
He was in Sharknado 5. No, I looked at it. Yeah. So
good for him. Screw it. But he's got movies right now that are in post-production, filming, and then he's doing voice acting in a movie that he's been announced as one of the voice actors. So he's still working.
Right. Those 4 years were really what broke him, but he's been a legitimate continuing actor the whole time.
Yeah.
So Gemini Scribe said, the cashmere. Oh, George, cashmere.
Yeah.
That was the sweater, right?
Is that cashmere? That's when George had sex with the cleaning lady on his desk. It's come to my attention that you engaged in sexual intercourse with the cleaning lady on your desk. Is that not allowed here? I got to claim ignorance on this one.
Is that a policy?
It's such a good because
Yeah.
the last place I worked, that happened all the time.
Yeah, she goes, oh, that was hilarious. Yeah.
That was a classic episode.
So listen, this was so awesome to have him on.
He was so down to earth,
awesome, nice.
Yeah.
Every correspondence I've had with him over the past couple of months has been really, really just like I said, cool.
It was such a pleasure.
And honestly,
such a pleasure.
a huge shout out to Jackie Flynn, who you heard on the show a couple of months ago. Because if it wasn't for Jackie, I never would have found David, or David wouldn't have found me. So just fantastic.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie. And if you haven't watched Loudermilk, you got to watch it. I binge watched the 3 seasons.
Is it not good?
Fucking
or
awesome.
what? That is so funny. That show.
Such a great show. And Jackie is hilarious in it.
If you like dark comedy,
yes,
it is hilarious.
Yeah,
Jackie's great in it, but the star of it, the guy that his name
Ron Livingston.
Ron Livingston. He was in Office Space,
Yeah.
but he's such a different character in this.
Oh yeah,
he's such a bastard in this show.
Oh yeah,
and he's so good at it.
He's so good at it.
He's Loudermilk. He's the main character.
Yeah.
He's just so good at playing the main character in this. I highly suggest the show.
Absolutely. So listen, thank you folks for watching, for listening. Please continue. We've got a great rest of Scottober coming up. So next week I am on vacation. I will
Really?
I know it's
been a while.
It's so unlike me.
It's been a while.
I know. Honestly, I may pop in just to watch. I may pop in. I'm not gonna lie.
Say hello.
I am down in my house in Florida, and I don't think we have plans on Wednesday night, so maybe I will.
But we're gonna have our resident co-host,
Mr. Tom Stewart, to come in and talk about his podcast,
his two podcasts.
And I guess I should break this to you now, Scott.
What the fuck is he gonna? No.
I'm not gonna reveal who, but we're gonna have to reset up this room because he's bringing some friends
next week.
He's bringing some friends.
That's fine. He won't get in.
So I'll give him the garage code. You think you're the only one I'm sharing my garage code with?
I don't have to be here.
It's going to be a great show. So
tell him good luck.
Tom's going to come on and he's going to talk with Scott and
from afar
and talk about his podcast, My Paranormal Story, as well as his new podcast, Celebrity Paranormal Stories.
Right.
And then he's going to have a couple of special guests that are coming on with him. So that's next week on the 20th. Then on the 27th,
you're really enjoying this month too much.
I fucking love this month. I'm going to have such a downer in November, although we've got some great guests coming in November too.
Yes.
But on the 27th, right before Halloween, we have Ken DaCosta from Rise Up Paranormal coming on. You've heard of him whenever Tom has come on and shared EVPs. Ken DaCosta is usually the one that has evoked them. The one that stands out is when they were in a mill in Woonsocket and it was French. And Scott's taking his headphones off because he's a baby.
That was one of the
creepiest
ones I have ever heard. The hair on my arms are starting to stand up right now just
because he said in French, "Merci beaucoup," which is thank you, at the end of an investigation, and you clearly hear a voice say "Merci beaucoup."
Not only does it say
in a French accent,
it says it in a French accent.
Yeah, I know.
And it is so clear.
It was great. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, it was phenomenal.
So we're gonna have Ken on the 27th, and then I'm lining up October. We've got a great friend. November. I'm sorry, I don't even know what month it is. We've got Claudia Stavola coming in the first week.
I can't wait. It's been so long since I've talked to her and hung out with her.
And I'm lining up the rest of the month as we speak. And then listen, it's going to be the end of the year, and that's usually our end of the year best of funny bad gigs and best of the year
2021.
So that'll be 3 shows right there.
And I just want to throw a quick shout out, talking to Jim McHugh this past week. Jim McHugh is the founder of the Boston Comedy Festival. If you are in the New England area, in the Boston area, the week of the 9th through the 13th is the Boston Comedy Festival in Somerville. If you have a chance, you want to check out one of those shows. It's a lot of fun. It's not your standard comedy show. You see people that are vying for that top prize at the end of the week.
Yes.
There's, the preliminary rounds, there's the semifinal rounds, and then the finals. Go to Boston Comedy Festival, Google it, go to their website. You can check out some shows. I am going to be hosting a show on the 11th.
Oh, nice.
So
actually, I left the 10th open to see
Right.
if Jim would allow us to come up and talk to comics. So we might be
doing something
live from the Boston Comedy Festival on the 10th of November.
Yeah, but that's that week. So if you guys are in the area, definitely check that out. This is the 22nd year, I believe, of the festival.
Holy shit. I was in the first or second, and then the 10th, and then the 20th.
Yeah, this is either the 22nd or the 23rd year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So listen, folks, thanks so much for listening. Again, we didn't say it at the beginning of the show, but if you're listening and you enjoy the show, please tell a friend about us. If you have friends that are into podcasts, comedy podcasts, tell them about us, have them download, listen. And then the best thing to help the podcast is a 5-star written review. We just got a new one last week. Fantastic. I love when people say the newest one. It was like, love this show. It literally feels like I'm just hanging out with these guys.
Because that's what we want.
That's what we want it to be. Absolutely. We
It's
just want it to be a fun hang for people to get to hear stories from funny people, whether they're stand-up comics, comedy actors, or whatever.
right. I want our guests to feel like it's a hang. We want it to be a hang, and we want you guys to feel like you're hanging out with us.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea behind it. So thank you for that great review. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I guess
Other than that,
we'll talk to you
next week.